Okay, Bismillah. Assalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Okay, alhamdulillah, we're going to dive straight in today. We're doing ayah number 19. And I know there's going to be a couple of things that we are going to have to discuss and break down a little bit. And it is a slightly longer ayah as well. And I do want to try to do the best we can by explaining each part, inshallah. Sister Hamera, if you can say the isti'adha after me, please. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
That was good. Just the noon, you know, when you say minash, making sure the fatha is light, mina. So again, I think what's happening is when you let go with your tongue, when you touch the makhraj, when you touch the articulation point of the noon, your tongue is sliding backwards instead of sliding a little bit forwards. So try to get your voice out instead of making it fall back in. We'll try that one more. We'll try just mina shaitan first. Mina shaitan.
Mina shaitan.
That's better. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
It was a bit heavy again this time. You're just gonna have to keep on doing it, inshallah. Just
was
to
my
practice.
Hamza all right?
Your Hamza seemed better. I'm gonna listen to it especially again now, so I'm gonna make you say it one more time. So I am paying attention to it. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
The Hamza, yeah, alhamdulillah, it is better. The Ra you're breaking though. You know when you're saying Ar-Rajim.
I'm concentrating on one thing and then
Yes.
Okay.
It is very normal. If anybody does find that even at home that when you're reciting, you fix one thing and then something else comes up and then you realize that you've missed the first thing that you did fix has come back again. This is very, very normal when you are learning. So don't get, don't get bogged down and don't worry about that. That's all part of the process. And you just keep going, and then eventually things will start staying in place. It's all part of the learning process, inshallah.
Inshallah.
And then if I could get Sister Salma to say the Basmala, please. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
Good. Your Ras are better, alhamdulillah. Okay, let's start. I'm going to now the first part of this ayah up to this the Jim should ideally be read together, all in one. But for the sake of practice, I am going to stop here, inshallah, and then I want to give these last two words more, a little bit more attention, inshallah. Just they're going to need a bit more explanation, inshallah. So, Papa Juksana, if we can say the first part, please. أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا إِلَى الطَّيْرِ فَوْقَهُمْ.
أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا إِلَى الطَّيْرِ فَوْقَهُمْ.
Okay, so we have to just be careful, Pupuji, of the kasra here, and the ta. I want the itbaq of the ta, making it heavier, inshallah. I am just going to do the explanation first, and then inshallah we'll listen to you again. So we have here awalam. Again, we have here a mim sakin. It is followed by the letter ya. So this is an example of idhar shafawi. Okay. This is your idhar shafawi. In other words, idhar means to make clear or to make apparent, okay? And it means that what you're doing is the letter meme here is being read clearly and making it more distinct, okay? You're reading it. In other words, you're not trying to merge it or hide it or do anything or blend it with the next letter, okay? You're just pronouncing it in isolation on its own. You're completing the tawassut, so not too long, not too short. Awalam, awalam ya, awalam ya. Okay, so you pronounce that nice and clearly. The ra here, we can see it's got a fatha on it, so this ra is definitely heavy. The waw is a rahawa letter, which means that you have to stay on it for a longer time. Ya raw, keep it running a little bit. Ya raw, okay, don't just say ya raw ila. yaraw. Okay, and the waw is not heavy, so you don't want to say yaraw, yaraw, and then the waw is yaraw. The waw should be light. Okay, then we have the ila tayri from the, now here we have an alif maqsoor after the lam, which is not read. Now normally the word ila is actually written with a small alif here. Okay, and they say that there is a phrase bunyan al-Quran ala al-wasl. The Quran has been written as though you're going to carry on reading. And when we carry on reading here, now because this is an alif mud and it has a sukoon on it, because it doesn't have anything else, we can't visibly see anything else on it, any other haraka. And the ta also has a shadda. Here we have iltiqa as-sakinain. We have the meeting of the two sukoons, and the solution to that is hadaf of the alif. We drop the alif, we don't read the alif here. Okay, as a result, what we end up doing is we move from the lam straight to the ta, and because the alif is dropped here, that's why the alif has been omitted and it's not written. So you'll notice now when you look at your mushaf, sometimes you'll see the alif here, sometimes you'll see it not here, and it depends on how you're reading it in continuation. Okay, if that's just gone over your head, don't worry about it. This is for the sisters in Alhamdulillah who have already studied this. It is a reminder for their benefit, inshallah. Okay, so you go from the lam to the ta. Okay, ila tayri, ila tayri. So here again, the ya is also rakhawa. So we're going to hold that as well before moving on to the ra. Ila ta. The ta is nice and heavy. It has the itbaq. So remember, this is where you have the direction of the sound of your voice. The voice is being trapped inside the mouth and it's going vertically upwards. Ila ta. You don't open your mouth too much. Your mouth is just a little bit open. And I'm going to discuss the itbaq in a bit more detail when we get to the sad. But you're trapping the sound here. Ila ta tay, ila tay, ila tayri, ila tayri. The ra, of course, has a kasra. We've already learned that this is going to be light. And we have fawqahum. The qaf here is heavy. The waw again is your rakhawa letter. So you're going to hold it. Faw. You're not just going to say fawqahum. 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 Okay, hold the waw first before moving on to the qaf. And actually, it's quite nice and it makes it easier to pronounce. If you have that opportunity to sort of hold the waw for a little while, sort of get ready and get mentally prepared for saying a heavy letter next. It makes it easier to make that transition, inshallah. So let's try that again. أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا إِلَى الطَّيْرِ فَوْقَهُمْ.
أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا إِلَى الطَّيْرِ فَوْقَهُمْ.
That was better. Let's try that again. I could hear the rakhawa in the ya. Well done for that. Let's try that one again. أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا إِلَى الطَّيْرِ فَوْقَهُمْ.
أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا إِلَى الطَّيْرِ فَوْقَهُمْ.
So just be careful of the kasra again, Pupuji, the ri, when we say ila tayri. And when we say fawqahum, it's important here to keep the lips in a slight smile for the fa. Hear yourself say fa, the nice light fatha, fa, and then go for the waw, fa, faw, faw. You don't want to be saying faw. If you're saying faw, the fa is sounding heavy. And if it sounds heavy, it's because you're not you're getting ready for the waw too early. You're getting ready, and therefore your lips aren't moving properly for the fa. So it's pronounced fa on its own properly first, fa. Yeah, and now say fawqahum.
فَوْقَهُمْ.
Faw.
فَوْقَهُمْ.
Let's try that in the ayah now. أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا إِلَى الطَّيْرِ فَوْقَهُمْ.
أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا إِلَى الطَّيْرِ فَوْقَهُمْ.
Yes, that was much better. فَوْقَهُم was much better. Because you were focusing on فَوْقَهُم, the ta was a little bit, but that's okay, inshallah. Just keep going with the practice, inshallah. But the fa, mashallah, well done. Okay, moving on. So here, if I can get Sister Salma to do the next part, inshallah, we will start. I will repeat the word فَوْقَهُم, and then we will finish, read up until the jim, inshallah.
Okay.
فَوْقَهُمْ صَافَّاتٍ ويقبض.
فوقهم صافات ويقبض.
That was a good effort, alhamdulillah. It was a good effort, mashallah. Okay, so فوقهم, mashallah, I have nothing to really say in terms of that. And we've already discussed the breakdown, alhamdulillah, with the sisters. When we are looking at the word صافات, this word here, now we have a few different rules in this word that we need to make sure we get right. Okay, so the first one is the sad. Okay, we have to make sure that we're pronouncing the sad properly, because it does have this quality of itbaq, where it's not just isti'la, it's heavy, but it's got that extra level of heaviness to it. Then we have this longer mud that we can see the alif with the long mud sign. This is your, for those of you that know, mad lazim. I'm just going to write mad lazim for those of you that are new to this. Mad lazim is a 6-count mud. It's the longest mud you can get. You can't get any longer mud than this. Okay, so you're stretching this for the longest. If you are already, most of you are familiar already with Surah Al-Fatiha, and you've listened to it along a lot of times, you're very familiar with this. The very last word, وَلَضَّالِّينَ, when you're holding the ba and you're وَلَضَّالِّينَ, you're holding that, that's the same count. That one is also a mad lazim after the alif, after the dad, when you say وَلَضَّالِّينَ, right? That one, the alif is also a 6-count mad. For those of you that have studied this in detail, then this is a mad lazim kalimi muthaqqal. Okay, so that's the extra detail for you, just as a revision. So we got to prolong this for 6 counts. Okay, so that's the second thing that we need to think about. So we need to think about first the sad. It needs to be nice and heavy. We need to then prolong it for 6 counts. That's the second thing we need to think about. Then we have a fa with a shadda. The shadda, of course, means that we have to join it with the ending of the sa. Okay, so we got to do the joining. Okay, now this is very easy to miss. That's why I'm making an extra point of it. Not only are we joining, I'm not going to write, I'm going to write hold. You hold the joining. But for those of you that know, of course, there is also a nabar here. There's the emphasis. Okay, so let me explain how we're going to apply all of these things, because there is a lot going on here. You can tell now exactly what I was talking about. You've got the heavy sad, you've got to prolong it. You've then got to join it properly with the fa. So the sad, I'm going to show you the sad first. The sad, we know the makhraj of the sad is the same as the seen and the za. So let me just bring up the correct page first. So it's not this page, it's this page. Okay, alhamdulillah. Right, so you'll see on this page that we have the sad on the right hand side, and the tip of the tongue, which we have seen before, is behind the lower 2 front teeth. Okay, and the main difference between saying the seen and the za and saying the sad is that the seen and the the seen and the za, the back of the tongue is not raised. But you can see with the sad, you have the back of the tongue is raised. Okay, you have and you have this area over here. Itbaq actually means adhesion, and it's this part of the tongue being, running very close to the roof of the mouth. Okay, it's almost like it's not touching the roof of the mouth, but it's so close to it, right? And then that allows for the trapping of the sound here. It allows it very easily to bounce around. Okay, and that's what gives you what you call the echoey type sound. Okay, the hollowy sound to the sad. Instead of just saying sa, we're saying saw. That echoey, hollowy sound is because you've got this area here, and the sound just sort of bounces around. Okay, now to get an echoey sound, how do we get this echoey? Another way that we can look at this echoey sound. What's another way? Let's have a look. Right. Normally, when we talk about echo, the place that probably we're all familiar with, where you normally get an echo, is is in a cave. Okay, you get an echo in a cave, and normally with a cave, you'll notice that the entrance is normally quite small. Okay, you normally have a small entrance. As I said, I'm not an artist, so you have to just bear with me. Okay, but for example, The cave is the inside part here, and the entrance is quite small. So as you go in, the space inside increases, okay? And that's why when you speak in a cave, the sound can't, the gap to come out is too small. So the sound bounces around inside the cave, and that's how you get your echo. So you're trying to create a similar thing in your mouth, okay? So when you say this letter, when you say any letter that has itbaq, so it could be the sad, it could be the dad, or the ta, or the dha, okay? All of these four only are the ones that have itbaq. For all four of these, your mouth shouldn't be opening wide. So for example, you shouldn't be saying sa, that's too much. Remember, you want a small entrance so that the sound finds it harder to come out and it's easier to keep it in, okay? So you're saying saw, my jaw's coming down, but my mouth, my lips are not separating so much. So I'm not saying saw, this would be wrong. Saw. At the same time, the back, I can feel the back of the tongue, something's going on with the back of the tongue. If you're struggling with this letter, when I'm saying raise the back of your tongue, if you're finding that hard, another way that sometimes sisters can look at it is they can say that, you know, the very back of the tongue, you don't just lift it up, but it also pushes a little bit backwards. And that's why in your, and they describe it sometimes as a slight constriction in the throat. So you'll feel the back sort of push back a little bit. That can help as well. So if you're struggling saying this letter by trying to lift the back of the tongue, try to move your tongue a little bit back. That might do it for you, okay? So you want to do that, and then you want to try to make sure the sound, you're not trying to push the sound out now. You're not saying saw, you're saying saw. I'm trying to keep the sound inside my mouth, okay? So we got to make sure we say that sad correctly. And then you prolong it for 6 counts. So you got to keep it going, okay? This alif mud is going to be just as heavy. That same heaviness is being carried into the prolongation of the sad, okay? So when you join the fa, you join it. When you finish your 6, you calmly finish your 6 counts. At the end of those 6 counts, you grab the fa. It's almost like you grab the fa. That's how you're applying the nabr here, okay? You grab the fa, and then once you've grabbed the fa quickly, you hold it. So let me say that so you can hear it. Sof. I'm not saying sof. See, I'm not doing a very gentle movement to the fa. Once I finish the 6 counts, I grab the fa with a bit of oomph, okay? Sof. This makes it very clear to the listener that the fa is joint, okay? Otherwise, it sounds like you're saying saw, fa. It sounds like they're very independent of each other. They don't sound like they're joint at all. So to make it very clear to the listener that these 2 letters are joint, the alif mud is joint to the fa, you do that quickness of the joining, and then you hold the fa, because the fa is one of those letters that you hold for a long time. Okay, it's not like it's longer than the lam. We hold it for a long time, then we carry on with the fa. We'll say the fatha of the fa, we'll say fa with the alif. This is going to be 2 counts, so it's just a normal standard mud. We hold it for the 2 counts, then we go on. So I'm going to say this 3 times. Sister Salma, I'd like you to say after me. Okay, I'm going to carry on until safatinwa, just so that we do practice with the 2 counts. Otherwise, if I stop, I may have to, it could be a longer mother. I don't want to really go into the explanation of that. I think there's quite a lot going on here already. Okay, so let's try this. Safatinwa. MashaAllah, that was good, because when you said that previously, I didn't hear the nabr, I didn't hear the fa joining. They were actually separate. But alhamdulillah, you've managed to fix that. Allah bless you. We're going to do that again, just to give the sisters at home a chance to also practice. Good. You can add a little bit more gunna when you do the idgham
Oh, yes.
naqis here. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do that one last time. صافات و
صافات و
Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Yeah.
That's not easy. So you may find that those of you at home, you may want to keep practicing that over the course of the day. Just keep practicing, inshallah. You may want to make a note also of these points that I've just made. Okay, so here we have an idgham naqis. I don't want to go into too much the explanation today because there is something else I need to spend time on over here. So this again is just simply this is where you're pronouncing the wow. It's almost like you in terms of how your tongue is moving, go from ti to wa, and then add the gunna. So the nose is traveling, the sound is traveling through the nose, and you're also pronouncing the wow at the same time, and you hold this bit. Okay, you hold the joining part. Okay, now for the next word, when we have yaqbid, we have to remember that the waw and the ya both have to be light, but they do have a heavy qaf after them. Wa yaq. And the qaf is a bouncy letter. It's a qalqala letter, okay? Which means that we have to let go of the makhraj, not push as we let go of the makhraj, but let the back of the tongue just bounce off. Yaq, yaq, yaq. It's very natural, okay? Wayaqo. This is and the qalqala also sounds heavy, so you don't want to say wayaqa. Wayaqo sounds heavy. Okay. Then we have the kasra of the b, and then the dad. Now the dad, the articulation point of the dad I have discussed before, but today what I want to go a little bit deeper because today we're seeing the dad with a sukoon, and when the dad has a sukoon, we have to hear that running of the sound. Okay, we have the rakhawa of the sad. We also have the quality of istitala, for those of you that are familiar with it, of the dad. Okay, which means that you feel the sound moving forward in your mouth, but it's not allowed to come out of the mouth. Okay, it stays in the mouth because the tip of the tongue, remember, is very lightly touching the top, and that blocks the path. So the sound keeps coming, and when it comes to that block of where the tip of the tongue touches the top, then it stops. How do we do this? So you hear that sound traveling, but it's not coming. I'm not saying build. It's not coming out. Build. It's staying inside. Build. So let me show you the makhraj of bod. I feel like I wasn't going to, but I think I should. Okay. So this is on. Let's get the right page. Okay. So here we said, just to remind you that what you're doing here is you're using the sides of the tongue. Let me just see if it's on whether they show you on the next slide here. Okay, so you're using the side of the tongue, so this green part. Okay, you're using the green part, not the front. Now, although this yellow part, the tip of the tongue does go up, it does touch the top, but you're not applying the pressure with that part. The pressure is applied with the side of the tongue. Remember, we said you can either use the left side of the tongue or the right side of the tongue, or you could even use both. Okay, it doesn't matter. So you apply the pressure here near the inside plates of the teeth. So let me just get rid of this share again. So what are we doing? We're using, this is your tongue. You're using the back sides of the tongue. The whole of the tongue is going to come up. Now, because of this tongue and the way it's actually made, it's quite hard for me to sort of bend it upwards, right? So unfortunately, we've got to sort of stick with the shape. But what you're doing is you will have a dip. So it'll sort of go like that, okay? If that makes sense. But then what's happening is that is going to go to the roof of the mouth, and you're going to touch the inside plate of the molars, okay, and just the gums just next to it, and you're going to press there. That's where the pressure goes, okay? That's where the pressure goes. The reason you need that dip that I'm talking about, and the reason they show it also in the diagram, which I'll show you again in the middle in a minute, the reason you need that dip is because, again, the sound will travel, and then also that's where you're trapping, that's your area where the sound will be trapped. Okay, that's where you have your itbaq. So let me show you on the diagram again. Gosh, we're almost done for time. Let me move to the page before without it going blue. Okay, so here, so you can see that you've got your dip here, okay, and the back of the tongue is raised. It's not touching anything, it's just raised. The front of the tongue is touching, but the pressure is not here. The pressure will be on the side of the tongue there. Okay, it is a bit harder to tell on this picture because the sides of the tongue are supposed to be up and the center of the tongue is supposed to be dipped down. So this image isn't completely accurate, but it's sometimes with images that's the best you could do. Okay, so coming back, so we got to keep it running. Now, once we've finished that, we are then stopping on the noon here. We're putting a sukoon on the noon. Okay, so you have to go to the noon and the tawassut of the noon. And the way that you'll feel yourself do this is you'll feel yourself go from the tongue being raised, the tongue will you'll feel your tongue relax from the back, and you'll feel yourself sort of focus more on the back in terms of the sound of your voice will then start going through your nose. Okay, and then you go through the nose. Let's try that, Sister Salma. Ah, that's not too bad, mashallah. Let's try that again. Not bad again. Yeah, it's the noon at the end. You just got to make sure the noon. The noon, you don't have to stay on. Remember, you don't need to stay on the noon for as long as you do the dad. Keep the dad, and then the noon is less time. I let go there. Sorry. Let me do that again. MashaAllah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Okay, so I am going to go on to the next part of the ayah because we've only got a few minutes left. Alhamdulillah, there's been a lot to explain today. So Sister Saira, if we can please do the next part. ما يمسكهن إلا الرحمن.
ما يمسكهن إلا الرحمن.
When you go to the lam and the ra, when you're joining it and saying illar, I want you to be a little bit gentler with it. Illar. Stay on it for a little bit. We stay on the lam and the ra. Both of them should be for the same amount of time. Illar. Now I made them very long because I was reciting very slowly. But we'll do that again, inshallah. ما يمسكهن إلا الرحمن.
ما يمسكهن إلا الرحمن.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Your heart was slipping a little bit, but the first time, alhamdulillah, was okay. Just the last time the ha slipped a little bit. So just stay on top of that, inshallah. Just keep reminding yourself of the ha. And also when you say the meme, hold the meme just like you did the lam. Yumsi. I want a smooth transition from the meme to the scene. ما يمسكهن إلا الرحمن.
ما يمسكوهن إلا الرحمن.
And just one of the things to desire, be careful not to make the ku too long. There's almost like a space between the ku and the hu. Kuhu. I want you to move one to one. ما يمسكهن إلا الرحمن.
ما يمسكهن إلا الرحمن.
Jazakumullahu khairan. And finally, Sister Humera, if you can do the last part with me, please. إنه بكل شيء بصير.
إنه بكل شيء بصير.
The ra has got a little bit of air at the end, so you want to just focus on letting the sound, keep the sound running whilst you say the ra. إنه بكل شيء بصير.
إنه بكل شيء بصير.
جزاكم الله خيرا. Let's recite this from the beginning. So Papa Ruxana, if I can get you to recite the first part again. أولم يروا إلى الطير فوقهم.
أولم يروا إلى الطير فوقهم.
And Sister Salma, فوقهم صافات ويقبض.
فوقهم صافات ويقبض.
Yeah, not bad. Just be careful, Sister Salma, you just missed out the number. That's the only thing you missed out. But I know your little ones need your attention. Just to alert you, inshallah. Just be careful when you say saw, that quick joining of the fa. Safat. Okay, just bear that in mind. Sister Syra, ما يمسكهن إلا الرحمن.
ما يمسكهن إلا الرحمن.
Your ra can be heavier. إلا الرحمن.
إلا الرحمن.
And then finally, Sister Humera, إنه بكل شيء بصير.
إنه بكل شيء بصير.
جزاكم الله خيرا. We'll stop there. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.